right now.
Let's go back to the start of the season and thread through the storylines that existed. Okay. Shea Weber hurt.
Yep.
Going to miss a prolonged period of time. Carey Price, another injury-plagued year. You don't know. Carey Price isn't getting any younger.
Okay, I'll take the.
No, he's not getting any younger.
I'll take the.
Right? And he's like just starting out his $10.5 million a year contract.
Right.
It's a big time for Carey Price. Right. With Shea Weber out, I kind of went the wrong order there. So Shea Weber out. So Geoff Petrie's going to see a lot of minutes. Guy, I got nothing against Geoff Petrie. The facts are minus player his entire career.
A bunch of players who you had no idea how they would respond to on the first two lines.
Max Domi's never played center consistently in this league, so he's now your number one center.
Right.
Oh, by the way, some teenager from Finland we got. Half of you can't pronounce his name. Let's see how he does in camp. Right? So Claude Julien's got all this stuff going on.
Yeah, all these ingredients.
One hurdle after another, after another. Antti Niemi was his career nearly ended last year. Got released from Pittsburgh and Florida. He looked okay after you picked him up, but you don't know what kind of backup you have in Antti Niemi.
Yeah.
They're a point back of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Weber missed all that time. Carey Price didn't start well this year. Max Domi's just finished a 17-game stretch where he hadn't scored a goal. They are a point back. They're a point back of the Toronto Maple Leafs, the self-proclaimed best team in the world. And I don't put this on Bergevin. I don't give credit to the players. There's one guy who's had to deal with all of this, and we don't talk about him enough, and it's Claude Julien.
Yeah.
Claude Julien deserves all, not some, all of the credit for dealing with these hurdles that were placed in front of him week after week after week. A teenager at center, a guy who never played center, no Shea Weber. Price struggled. You're trying to keep him healthy. It's a day-to-day thing with Carey. He's your most valuable player. You're in the hottest market in the world. You have a Stanley Cup ring. People still don't give you that kind of respect. And he's got them a point back of the Leafs.
But does this say more about the Leafs or the Habs? Because I think you're confusing a little bit here. What are the Habs right now? You're so excited. What did you tweet last night?
I said, this is the greatest sports story in the history of time. Sorry, check that. I said this might be.
Did you say that might be?
It might be the best story in hockey right now, the Montreal Canadiens. And there was a little Islander chatter, a little Flames chatter.
Yeah, Calgary on the line.
Calgary
line one since
they had Nenshi line one. The Flames are pretty good. But to me, and what makes this even crazier, Tim, they have the best power play in hockey.
No.
Check that. The worst. Claude Julien has the worst power play in hockey.
So that's a good thing?
Well, that's on the assistants, not him. That's on the assistants.
Here's why I'm confused.
Still in the playoffs.
Here's why I'm confused. They're 5-3 in January. Those 5 wins are 2 shutouts from Carey Price and a 41 save performance from Carey Price. He has a .947 save percentage in the month, and he's 3-3. They needed a 52 save performance from Antti Niemi, and they were outshot 32-25 by a Red Wings team that they beat 3-2. Those are 5 wins.
Correct.
In their 3 losses, they scored a grand total of 2 goals.
Yes.
So they've needed goalies to steal games, and that's the only way that they were going to compete this year, and they kind of are what we thought they were. I say, and listen, I didn't think they'd be in a playoff spot, so I will throw that out there.
Neither did I.
And I give them credit for being in the playoff spot that they are. However, if you look at the rest of the East and who's behind them, it's not exactly murderer's row. Buffalo, I don't know what the hell the Buffalo Sabres are.
I got duped on the Sabres. I thought they built enough of a framework to keep this afloat.
Right?
I was on that.
Carolina, the Rangers, New Jersey, Florida, Philly, the Red Wings, all of these teams, are any of them any good? I think
not really,
the Sabres, I think the Canadiens are going to make the playoffs unless the Sabres find something of what they had in that 10-game winning streak. But since then, they've won 6 games since that 10-game winning streak, and I think we're talking about 21 games in which they have the 6 wins. I look at that conference, and I'm not enthused in any way, shape, or form. And I honestly think if you broke it down outside of maybe the Sabres, Habs are where they should be.
But if the goaltending slips a little, the Habs are in that world, right? The Habs aren't far from where some of those teams, which I agree with you, are not great teams,
right,
are currently sitting in the East. I don't disagree with the point. That is not the strongest Eastern Conference we have ever seen.
No.
You are bang on.
No, but what I'm worried about is those 3 losses, they've got 2 goals. They've got the worst power play in the NHL. They can't score goals.
No.
And even when Max Domi got off to the good start that we weren't anticipating, and even when others contributed like we weren't anticipating maybe necessarily with a guy like Thomas Tatar, you're still in a spot where they need the goalies to be really, really good to get wins. And luckily, you have a really good goalie in Carey Price and a guy who's playing like a really good goalie in the anti-hero.
Well, when that power play stops sucking, they're your goals.
Right.
Like, that will help you out considerably. Like, again, this is the worst power play in hockey. The worst.
No, but why is it the worst power play in hockey? Maybe because they have the worst players on the power play.
I don't think they have the worst players.
Buddy,
I don't think they have the worst
Yoel
players.
Armia on the power play.
They liked him in Winnipeg.
If I'm not mistaken, and maybe a Montreal Canadiens fan can correct me if I'm wrong.
And there's a few here.
When he got on the power play in Montreal, he had never scored a power play goal in his life.
But he was due.
And I think it might have been 200 games. I like the argument that you're attempting to make. I just don't know what they are.
But my only argument is Claude Julien's good at his job, man.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Claude Julien's good.
And
I'm not
give you
giving
that.
Bergevin a lick of credit for this.
And I'll
Claude
give you that.
Julien is putting this thing, he's keeping this together with duct tape and a car in the underground parking lot.
Right.
And they right now are scaring the Leafs. Let's be honest.
But
this is not a good look on the Toronto Maple Leafs.
But that's your story, is that the Bruins who have been through injuries and the Leafs who have been through injuries, and you could say the Habs have been through injuries, but the Leafs aren't playing well as well. I think you're saying more about them than you are saying about the Montreal Canadiens.
I just want to give Claude Julien some love here.
Because Tampa Bay is also running away with the division, right?